Hello friends, welcome to Rygenix. Today we are going to discuss another structural pattern, the proxy. Let's see first what we are going to build while learning this pattern. So we are going to build this simple application in ASP.NET Core MVC. Wait. If you don't know about ASP.NET Core MVC, do not worry. I will write very few lines of code related to ASP.NET Core concepts, and I'll ensure that if you wish to code along with me, you will definitely be able to write this. So what we are going to build here, we will build this video gallery that loads big HD videos. Initially it will load this low resolution video, and if user wants to have the HD quality, then the user has to request by clicking this button. Usually in video streaming sites, it changes video quality automatically using adaptable streaming feature, but for demonstration of proxy pattern, I have made this on demand. Now that's okay, we have this video gallery, but what problem we will try to solve using proxy pattern? Number 1. Loading of big HD videos takes time, and at times it gives a bad user experience. Number 2. Everyone does not want HD video due to their bandwidth issues. Number 3. We assume that this is an existing application where lots of users are experiencing performance issues due to their bandwidth, and we have to provide a solution without modifying video library component and very minimum changes to the existing client application. So what's the solution we are going to provide? The solution would be to provide HD video only on demand. Create a proxy so that we can achieve this without impacting client. So I hope the requirement is clear. Let's hop over to our slide and see what is proxy pattern first. We will do the complete implementation after that. Please do subscribe the channel for getting notification for all my upcoming videos, which will help you to be a better programmer. Let's continue. Proxy pattern is similar to a lot of other design patterns like decorator or adapter. In fact, for that matter, you would see that there are a lot of patterns which are similar to each other in structure. However, they are definitely different when it comes to intent of using them. Let's jump into an example and try to understand this pattern. Say there is a server. Doesn't must have to be a web server. It could be as well a component developed by some other team in your company, or could be some third-party component. Now say a client requests something from the server. What it requests? Say there is a class called InfoProcessor that implements iProcessor having a method getProcessData. Client depends on iProcessor to call getProcessData. This seems to be a very simple requirement, right? Now let's assume that an additional requirement came. Say this is you, and you have been asked to implement a design which will allow to add additional, mostly non-functional requirements like adding pre-processing logic before calling the real service, like logging, encoding the request, etc. Or do some post-processing after receiving response from the server. Again, could be logging, decoding, etc. Or handle some performance aspects by implementing lazy or on-demand loading, what we are going to implement in our implementation. And maybe add a security layer to the request with a constraint that the client should not be impacted, which means client should be still relying on the existing interface. This is where the proxy pattern can be implemented. The literal meaning of proxy is in place of, or representing somebody or something, or on behalf of somebody. So in one sentence, if we define the problem that proxy tries to solve, then hopefully it would be something like this. We have a type, say a class info processor. Now proxy gives controlled access to this object by adding pre-post logic to the incoming request or outgoing responses respectively. Let's switch to Visual Studio and implement our requirement. Let's create a new project, file new project, select ASP.NET Core application. Let's name it as Video Gallery Presentation. Let's select MVC Web Application. So you can see here our nice Video Gallery Presentation MVC application created. Before doing anything with this application, let's create our class library called Video Library. Add new project. Let's search for class library. Here it is, .NET Core class library. Let's name it Video Library. Let me delete this default class. Let's create our class to hold video information. Let's name it video DTO. Let me zoom it a bit and delete these unused references. So we have here four properties: ID to hold the ID of the video, name which will contain name of the video, and description. Let's delete this for now. Just trying to keep it simple. Finally, we have the path property to hold the video location. Let's create an interface called iRepository. Let's make it public. So we have here two methods. First method is get all video detail, which will basically get all the videos that we have it. Another method is get video path, which will return a single video path based on the given ID. Let's create our video repository and implement this interface. Let's create a constructor. This repository will basically fetch the video information from a database or some other physical location, but for now I will store it in memory in a list. So I have declared here a list variable. Let me add all the video information in the constructor. So I have added 4 videos here with video ID, name, and path of the video. The videos will be added in our ASP.NET Core Applications www root folder, as these are static contents and all static contents has to be added there. So get all video detail method should return all the videos. So let's return that. Now get video path should return the path of a specific video. So we have a for each loop here which loops through each video, and if the video ID matches with the given ID, it stores the path and returns the video path. So what we have done till now, we have created a video DTO to hold video information, iRepository with 2 public methods, and a video repository that implements iRepository, where we have implemented our business logic. Let's build this once. All looks okay. Now let's work on our MVC application. Let's add our HD videos first. Let's create a folder called videos. Under that, let's create a folder HD. Let me add the videos. So I have added here 4 HD videos. Let me run and show the video quality to you. So you can see it's a nice HD quality video. Now let's try to get all the video info from our library component to this MVC application. We have to make only few changes to our controller and only few lines to our view. Before that, let's add the reference. Now let's make changes to our controller. Let's add the constructor and inject our iRepository interface. Let's add a view model class which will be binded to the view. So we have a videos collection here which will be binded to the view, selected video ID for drop down list, and path of the video. Let's go back to our controller and write code to fetch video information. Let's add a parameter video ID. So it's a very simple code where we have a view model, videos collection which is populated by calling our repository method, and a path to hold the video path. Let's create a HTTP post method which will fire when user selects a drop-down list item or clicks a button. It should receive our view model. Let's call our index method with the selected video ID and return. Let me return the view model to the view. That's it for the controller. We have injected iRepository here, so we need to register it. Let's go to our startup class and register. Services.addSingleton iRepository. Let me add the namespace, comma, video repository. So it means when I ask iRepository, give me video repository class instance. We have not made any changes to the view. Let's run this and see what we get. So this is the default view. Let's make some changes to this. I would like to update welcome by welcome to Proxy video gallery and remove the header and all other default text. So let's quickly do that and update our view with proper binding. Let's delete this complete header. Let's delete this text as well. Let's run this. So you can see welcome to Proxy video gallery and default header is not available. Now let's go to our index view and make the necessary changes. Let's add model directive for binding our model data. Let me quickly code the view HTML with binding and come back. So here we have a div for our welcome text and a very small HTML table to hold rest of the data. So here we have a table row which contains a text, choose a video, and a drop-down list which lists down all the video names for the user to select. Another row to display the video. Video is displayed using a video element. One more row which contains a button. For now, let's comment this. Let's put a breakpoint in our controller and run this. Before that, just to keep things simple, let's delete this. Let's run this. Get all video detail gets a call. Let's remove the breakpoint and press F5. So our basic site without proxy pattern is ready. Let me play the videos. Now, what was the problem that we were trying to solve using our proxy design pattern? The problem was that we assumed that these videos are pretty big in size, and due to bandwidth issues, while playing it, the video freezes and the dreaded spinning circle shows up in the middle of the screen, rotating slowly, which gives a pretty bad experience to the user. Now we are asked to solve this problem. So what solution we can provide? We will provide a solution by loading a low resolution video whenever user selects the video, but with a provision to switch to HD video if he wish to. That is, kind of on demand we will provide the HD video so that the user can take a call looking at his bandwidth if he wish to play a HD video. Now as mentioned earlier, there are better solutions to fix this problem, but this can be one of the solutions. Now the major constraint while implementing this requirement is that we require to do these changes with very minimum changes to our client. So the proxy pattern completely suits here. So you have a real object, which in our case the video repository class, that implements an interface. In the current implementation, client directly calls the real object. Now what we are going to do, we are going to provide a proxy in between, which will implement the same interface, and the proxy decides if it has to fetch big size HD video from the real server or return a low resolution video from the proxy itself. Let's do the changes. Ideally, we can create a separate class library altogether, but for now, let's create a folder called Proxy. Let's create a proxy class, Proxy repository, implement the existing interface iRepository. Since it implements the same interface as our video repository, in the interest of time, let me copy the code. Now the intention is the proxy will not return the HD video, rather a low resolution video. So let me modify the path. Let me add the low resolution video as well. Let me play one of the video. See, it's a low resolution video. Let me add a public property, is HD requested. This property will be fed by our client. Now proxy will decide, depending on the property value, whether it has to call the remote video library for the HD video or not. So you can see here we are calling video repository only on demand. If is HD requested is true, then only call the remote library server, or else return the low resolution video from the proxy server only. Let's register our proxy class. Let's go to our controller and make the necessary changes. Let me create a private field. This will store the user input, whether the HD video is requested or not. Receive the parameter value on button click and assign it to our private field. Let me make just one more line of code change in controller to assign is HD requested property in proxy. Let's go to our view and get the HD requested button. This we had already written, just uncomment it. Let's run this. Let me select a video. Boom! Our proxy pattern seems to be working. It is playing a low resolution video from our proxy server. If user wants to play a HD quality video, it can be requested via this button. That's the HD video coming from our remote video library server. Let's change couple more videos and see. There are different types of proxy pattern. This one that we have implemented is called virtual proxy. Before wrapping up this video, let me quickly discuss about types of proxy patterns. Protection proxy limits access to the real object. Based on some conditions, the proxy filters the calls and only some of them let through to the real object. For instance, take an example of your Office Internet Access. Say you have an interface iOffice Internet Access, which is implemented to Office Internet Access class, and it allows access to internet to anyone. Now if there is a requirement to limit the access to certain grade employee, then what you can do? You can create a protection proxy by implementing the same interface, have a check, and if can access, then allow the employee to access. Virtual proxy. We have just implemented this proxy. This proxy is used when an object is expensive to instantiate. It provides some default and instant results if the real object is supposed to take some time to produce results. The proxy manages the lifetime of the real object. It decides when the instance creation is needed and when it can be reused. These kind of proxies are used to optimize performance. Smart proxies add extra functionalities to the calls to the real object's member. This functionality is often invisible to the client object. For instance, counting the number of references to the real object so that it can be freed automatically when there are no more references. Other example would be managing shared resources. Remote proxies provide local representatives for all the remote resources by hiding all the details on how to connect to the real resources over the network. Remote proxies centralizes all knowledge of the network details, and often these files are generated automatically like WSDL for WCF. That's it for proxy pattern. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If it did, then please hit the like and subscribe button and share this video with others to see more such contents. Thanks.